You're in central London, the sun's out, and you want to explore the city. What's the best way to do it? Clearly, there's only one answer. It's to get on a bike. Now, in London, there are 3 different hire bikes that can get you around central London. There's the Boris bike or the Santander bike, which is the TfL sort of city scheme. There is the Lime bike, and there are forest bikes. But which is the best? Well, we are going to put them to the test. So I'm on a Lime bike in Hyde Park. I'm on the cycle superhighway going through the sort of southern edge of the park. This cycle superhighway was built by Boris Johnson about 7 or 8 years ago. It was one of the last things he did as mayor, and it's probably his greatest legacy, that and the Boris bikes. And it's a lovely route. It goes from the edge of Hyde Park all the way along the Thames to the Tower of London, and then actually beyond, because it links up with other cycle superhighways. As for the ride itself, it's very smooth. It's really quite quick. These bikes go about 15.5 miles an hour before the battery motor sort of cuts out. So you don't really feel any great stress in pedalling. It's an easy way to get around. You don't break into a sweat, which is one of the big attractions of it as well. It's not hard work, lovely fresh air, and of course, environmentally friendly.
I'm here in Hyde Park today, testing out different e-bikes. Currently on a Lime bike. Personally, they're my favourite. I use them every day, 5 times a week at least to get to work. The reason I choose them is they're so convenient. They're right outside my house, they're right outside my office. You can kind of take them anywhere. They're so quick, and it's pretty easy.
I'm now about to try and hire a TfL Boris bike, the Santander sponsored scheme. This is London's official scheme, essentially subsidised by TfL and the Mayor of London. To do that, TfL has an app, the Santander app, just like the other apps, but I've found this quite often to be quite clunky and quite slow. I've got my phone out, I've got my card out. I feel like I'm actually a bit of a security risk here, because anybody can come past, either nick my phone, nick my card when I'm busy trying to fiddle away, trying to hire a Boris bike. So I'm not best pleased, TfL. And it's even asking me for my street name and address, which is far too much of a fiddle to try and hire a bike. By now, most people would have given up. In fact, there's some other people looking at the docking station wondering how on earth to get these bikes out. I've got a release code. Will it work? I've got a release code. Let's see if it'll work. It's green. We have a bike. Whew, that has taken a long time. Okay, right, we're going to ride this one and let's go up to Speaker's Corner. So I'm now on the e-Boris bike riding through Hyde Park on Rotten Row. The e-Boris bike is probably the bike that I'm most used to. It's very smooth, really nice. It's got 3 gears, unlike the Lime bike, which doesn't have any gears. You could say the Lime bike is fully automatic. And this bike feels much lighter than the Lime bike, and it's just sort of gently making its way up the hill here. Again, it couldn't be easier. Lovely ride. Although the one thing that you do notice as well is that the saddle is much harder, so it's not as comfortable as the Lime bike, but it's whizzing along pretty merrily. Do I like this bike? Yes, I do like this bike.
I'm now on an electric Boris bike for the first time. To be honest, it's lighter than the Lime bike. It was more difficult to get out, but it's lighter, it's got gears, and it's kind of a nicer ride. I hate to admit, I think it might be my preference, but the inconvenience of getting it out kind of undermines how nice the riding experience is.
We're on the way to Palace Court. We checked on the app and it's indicating there's a bike about 3 or 4 minutes walk away. So we're heading towards Notting Hill. We're going to go round the corner and fingers crossed there should be a Forest bike at the end of the road that wants to be hired. I think we're off. The clock is ticking. So I'm now on the Forest bike and just had a bit of an unsettling experience that the alarm just went off. Now, I think what happened was the bike was telling me that I'm not meant to be parking it in Hyde Park. Fair enough, but I wasn't actually trying to park it. I just stopped for a minute or two to let my colleagues catch up. And all of a sudden the wheels locked and the alarm went off. It's also been the case that when I've paused as well earlier with this bike, then you have to seem to go back into the app to press play again to get the bike wheels to unlock, to get the brakes to come off, to get moving. But as for the ride itself, well, it's very smooth. It's got a nice saddle. It's possibly the nicest of the 3 in terms of saddle and overall sort of seating position. It's almost like a bit of a limousine, riding or driving a limousine, or a large car, relaxing, all about comfort, not speed as much, whereas the Boris bike is a much lighter of the three. This bike is much heavier than the other two. Certainly, it feels even heavier than the Lime bike, and Lime bikes are pretty heavy in themselves.
Riding the Forest bike currently, it feels a bit disorientating because the basket doesn't move, whereas it does on the Lime. It's pretty smooth. It's got more of a hum, like a electric car. I feel very upright as well. I don't think it's my favourite, although the seat is plush.
Okay, so we're now at the end of the road. We've tried all three bikes. We've tried the Boris bike, the Lime bike and the Forest bike. And with Charlotte here, she's been riding the bikes as well as we've gone through Hyde Park. We've spent a couple of hours doing this, so we feel we've given them a pretty good road test. But which is our favourite? Well, it's a case of the votes are divided. I really like the Boris bike, but don't like at all how difficult it is to hire it. So TfL, please sort your act out. Otherwise, it's really nice to ride, it's nice and light, and it feels very well made. The Lime bike is a sort of good all-rounder for me, but the Forest bike I thought was probably the nicest of the three. Once you get used to the slightly unusual layout, it's comfortable to ride and it was relatively easy to hire.
So for me, actually, I think overall my favourite is the Lime bike, just because it's so convenient. You can hire it in a lot of different places. You can often park it as well in different places depending on whether you're allowed to do so. I thought the best actual ride and the drive for me was the Boris bike, but because it was so inconvenient to hire, again like you, it wasn't my favourite. My least favourite was definitely the Forest bike. I didn't enjoy the way it rode, I didn't like how the basket stays in the same place, and it was the heaviest as well.
I think rounding up as well, if you're a visitor to London, if you're a tourist, if you're coming into town to get around, I think we would all agree that whichever bike you choose, this will probably be a nicer way to get around town than stuck on the Northern Line. So give these bikes a go.